Okay, we're back after a short break to change the tape. Was Dr. Freeman finished?
I was finished.
Okay, well, I just wanted to respond with, in terms of the taxpayers wanting a fiscally prudent approach. And I would much, as a taxpayer and a parent in the system, I would much rather see us having more teachers, more professional, competent teachers, rather than more administrative positions like I guess you would classify the 6th to 8th grade coach not as an administration, so you could tell me exactly how you would classify it.
That's
But to me,
that's a teacher.
it's a teacher, but they're not
That is-
teaching the students. And I was really disappointed when I finally realized, and maybe I'm just a little slow,
Well-
when I realized that that person was actually not going to be interacting with the
I'll
students.
tell you, our experience with the literacy coaches, which are the same model, embedded professional development in the classrooms, teaching teachers, working with teachers to teach more effectively, has been extraordinarily positive. I don't think that I think we all wondered about whether it was a good road to go down.
For the
And-
literacy.
For the literacy. And I think our experience has been overwhelmingly positive. Now, I think some of the things we've got to talk about it moving forward is, do we maintain that model at those grades, and do we move it around? What do we do? I don't know. I mean, that's, I think, a discussion we've got to have. But I think, and I can only speak for myself, I think we think that the coach model of embedded professional development is extraordinarily valuable.
Has
And
worked well
they
for
are
apples.
absolutely not an either-or issue. The reason that we have, say, a class size of in the mid-20s or even in the high 20s is not because there's money in the budget for a math coach. It's because it's extraordinarily hard in a small district to schedule perfectly. It's just hard to do. And you can see these numbers. There's some very small numbers at Cox, or no, Leet, I'm sorry, in kindergarten. If you knew what you were going to get, you wouldn't have done that probably quite that way, I would guess.
Been a position less at Leet and one more at Cox.
It is a challenge to try to walk the line between not enough kids in a class and not being fiscally responsible,
Right.
and having too many kids in a class, and we work very, very hard on trying to balance those two issues. Sometimes it's easier. It's never going to be perfect, ever, ever, ever. It's just not. Especially at the elementary schools where we have this district model with 4 neighborhood schools, that we have really fought very hard to not redraw district lines.
But that's not what I'm talking
No,
about.
I know, but that's part of it, and that is a very important component of class size. And we've been very deliberate about trying to reduce class sizes over the last 10 years, and I think, frankly, we've done that. I guess I'd have to go back to think about where we were in the early 2000s, but we made a very concerted effort to reduce class sizes at all levels in the mid 2000s when Dr. Forcella was here. And I don't think anybody's interested in backsliding on that. There are going to be some outliers just because of specific demands at a specific grade level. I guess that's the best I can answer. It's not going to be perfect. We are totally sensitive, completely sensitive, that we don't want to have class sizes of 28 kids. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. The question is, though, do you go from 28 or 25 to 12 and 13 or 14 and 14? When you're talking about groups this small, either choice is not a perfect choice.
Yeah.
Sometimes it falls more on one side of the line than the other. We're aware of it.
Yeah. Well, and like with the AP English that happened, I understood that one of the AP teachers who normally taught English then assumed a administrative role for half of his responsibilities. And did we get staffing to cover those classes?
Yes, that was not a one-for-one relationship. The AP class size did not increase because an AP teacher now has other administrative responsibilities for this school year. Had those 2 teachers still been in the teaching ranks full-time, we would have still seated one section of AP with 26 students in it. We would not have created 2 sections of 13 and 13. And in fact, the way the schedule falls, you probably wouldn't have been able to schedule 13 and 13. We would have ended up with one with 9 and one with the bulk of the students in it. So no, it is not accurate
Okay.
that the
Well,
AP
thank you for
English class
clarifying.
changed because one teacher who carries certification to teach AP English shifted. As I've said to this board for 2 years during the budget cycle, we were able to achieve efficiencies in staffing at the high school because we could schedule more efficiently. Scheduling more efficiently means avoiding really small classes wherever possible. We work as hard as we can to avoid spikes, but occasionally a spike occurs, and you work hard to control where those spikes occur. Again, I know that averages are imperfect, but our AP class sizes are an average class that is smaller than our level 1 instructional classes at the high school. Our AP class sizes this year are smaller than many of the kindergarten classes that we are seating this year. To look at an average is a tool when you're looking at a full system of 3,500 students. It's not perfect, as
Well,
Mr.
and
Bloss
I
mentioned.
hope that Dr. Borland, it's our expectation, I know I keep talking about this, but it's my expectation that Dr. Borland is going to look at, among other things, these kinds of issues. But Dr. Freeman touches on a not insignificant point, and that is we've got a lot of different levels. And do you reduce class sizes at one level? There's going to be an effect on somebody else. It's not a zero-sum game, and there is going to be an impact on somebody else if you change something. It's we don't have an infinite capability to in scheduling. So I think we're going to get more flexibility in a new building. Frankly, I think that's going to give us some more space. Some space issues are going to be able to be resolved. But I think we're all interested to see what Dr. Borland says about that in particular. If we are not doing something right, then we need to do it differently.
And I did mention he's having a specific conversation about AP classes at the high school in
Okay.
his next visit.
Okay.
And the high school students with whom he met were predominantly students who have taken or are taking AP classes.
Okay.
Considering the population he was looking at, most of the students with whom he met were students who are currently taking AP courses. That is a topic that he's been asked to discuss.
Okay.
So then just one follow-up question. How much more time is Dr. Borland spending? He's doing this one parent thing. Now, was that November 4th or December 4th? I couldn't hear it back there.
Dr. Borland will be returning to district on December 4th and 5th. And during that visit, he will again be meeting with a parent group that will take place in this building on December 4th, probably at 7 in the evening. He will also have further conversations with students, including student groups from both Adams and Baldwin.
And after those 2 days, is he going to be done, or?
Yes, after those days, Dr. Borland will begin compiling his report. We will still be available to him if he has continued questions outside.
Yeah, I think the way I'd answer that is if it's our expectation that he's going to be done, but if he needs more time, then he's going to get more time. And if he needs to
Absolutely.
come back and he says, look, I've got a bunch of other things I've got to check out, then we want him to check them out. We're not...
And at the conversation that we did have, he offered his email, for communications. If there's anyone who feels like they need to say something,
Directly
we
to
could provide that if someone gets in touch.
Yeah, the proposal from Dr. Borland that we moved forward was for 5 days in district to collect the information that he would need in order to give us response and recommendations.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
But if he says to you or to us, because we're going to meet with him.
We're an open door.
Yeah, if he says, look,
Absolutely.
I'd like to do another couple of days, then guess what? We're going to do a couple of extra days.
Well, it did come up at the parent meeting that we had budgeted far more than we were paying him, so he was the lower bid of that, but the better one. So
That we asked for blind bids, yes.
Sometimes that works in our benefit. All right.
If Dr. Borland is excited and wants to roll up his sleeves and spend more time, I would be happy to have him
Absolutely.
in the district. And he has all of our contact information at the schools and in the office as well.
Okay. I guess the only other thing, I'm sorry, any more public questions? No? Okay. Then we have some executive session items. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll go into executive session for an update on expulsions, an update on negotiations. We'll come back into public session only to adjourn. There will be no further public votes this evening. Thank you.